Hello, everybody, and welcome back to today's Training Industry Leader Talk, the future of performance management, sponsored by InfoPro Learning, SweetRush, Allego, WhatFix, and the Regis Company. So I'm Liz Spate, the Events Marketing Specialist here today, and I'm thrilled to have you with us. So before we get started, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items to help you interact with our speaker and get the most out of today's session. So the engagement has been amazing today, so let's keep that party going. For this session, we do have Marcus here from Allego, who will be moderating the chat and addressing questions throughout, so do not hesitate to plug those questions. Alongside that, if you can put them in the chat, that would be even better. I cannot speak today. Additionally, any comments, conversations, anything like that, please plug those in the chat. Additionally, once the session ends, a brief survey will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to share your feedback on today's session speaker. And all of our sessions are being recorded and archived on trainingindustry.com, and you will receive a follow-up email from us that will include the link to the on-demand program for you to share with your team. Now, if this is your first event, we would love to welcome you. Training Industry exists to make connections among learning and development professionals, and we offer tons of resources to support your role in L&D, like live events like today's Leader Talk, as well as through articles on our website, our magazine, conferences, research reports, our podcast, even our membership. We would also love to hear about what you've learned from today's session on social media, so please follow us on your favorite platform so we can continue the conversation. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Lena. Lena leads people and culture at Allego and strives to foster an inclusive environment where employees thrive and understand their impact to organization. She orchestrates talent management strategies, steering the company's growth trajectory while nurturing employee development. So with that, Lena, take it away.
Thank you, Liz. I'm honored to be here today. I'm just going to take a moment here to share my screen. Bear with me one second.
And like Liz said, I'll be in the background. If you've got any questions, add them into chat, add them into the Q&A panel, and I'm going to get those answered for you.
Thanks, Marcus. I'm looking forward to you being my partner in crime today. We're going to have some fun.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so again, thank you, Liz. Thank you, Marcus. I'm really excited to be here. You know, this has been a hot topic my entire career, to be honest with you. So, what I want to talk about today, we'll dive into why learning and HR leaders are being forced to really rethink and redefine performance management. I'll talk about three different pillars in terms of what can help shape the employee experience around performance management. I'll share some action items, some quick hits, and then some other more strategic things that you can do to create a system that helps set everyone up for success, including your people leaders and your managers. I'll talk about what we can do today, and then first and foremost, I want to hear from you. So Marcus is going to kick off a quick poll for us.
Yeah, so you should see a poll pop up on your screen. If you've got 50 screens, it's on one of them, I promise. Hopefully you only got two or three. Um, but go ahead and get those questions answered, and we will, like I said, we'll be available in the chat. So throw the questions in as we go. I'm going to interrupt Lena as much as I can, uh, and we will get those questions answered for you. Right now, we've got about 30% participation, so I want to see like 80% if we can. That last option is other, so tell us what we're missing. Actually, Crystalline already chimed in, so they said all of the above. So that's an interesting one there. Um, Let's see, for those folks that are not that are in the recording, option one was what's actually broken about performance management is the question. Annual reviews, managers are in survival mode. We rate performance but don't build the skills behind it. Employees treat it like a checkbox, and I'm sure that's a hot one here. And then other, tell us what we're missing. So Patty said +1 to Crystalline, all of the above. I'm gonna go ahead and end this poll. We're at 72%, so we didn't hit my favorite number there. But I'll go ahead and share the results, and I'm gonna call those out. So we had about 18% of you said annual reviews. 12 said managers are in survival mode. 18% said we rate performance, and 32% said we treat it like a checkbox. So that's the winner today. Treat it like a
That's the
checkbox. we'll go ahead and close that off and send it back to you, Lena.
All right. Well, thank you, Marcus. I tend to lean towards the all of the above as well. And my goal, obviously, we don't want performance management to be a checkbox. So hopefully that becomes clear as we go through today's presentation. Um, so let me just get to the next slide. All right. So I think everybody, whether you're in learning and development or HR or people and culture, whatever you are, if you're in charge of training and developing employees, the pressure is on, right? There's a lot of things that these professionals are being expected to accomplish. So I like to phrase it as we're tasked with doing magical work with limited resources. Typically, what happens. But what L&D leaders, particularly today, are expected, executive teams, they want to see, okay, if you're spending money on training and development, what prove the business outcomes? Where's the ROI? They're asking learning leaders to change behaviors at scale. By the way, the ask is usually, can you change the behavior overnight, right? They want these things to happen yesterday. Are you able to measure the speed to productivity? Is the magic working? Has ramp time improved? Are people being set up for success quicker? Can they get in the seat and perform at a level as soon as possible? So on the other end, employees, they also have high expectations. Employees, they want clear paths to growth. They want to know what they need to accomplish in terms of their growth, to whether it's to take a lateral move or promotional opportunities. Employees, they want that clarity and insight on what's expected. They also want real-time feedback. I always go to feedback as a gift. The good, the bad, and the ugly. At the end of the day, it's a gift, and employees, they do want it deep down. It's an important lever for all of us to have in our toolkit. And then, of course, employees, they want training, and they want to be able to develop skills that are going to be connected to success in their role, and not just their role today, but their future roles. So there's a lot that is expected of our learning and HR teams these days. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. So what is failing? Why are traditional approaches failing? Well, there's a quick stat here. 87% of L&D leaders struggle to prove real world impact beyond completion rates, right? It's easy to run a report. Oh, we had 25 people complete this training. Okay, what happened after the training? Sometimes we find, more often than not, if I'm being very honest, we put a lot of energy and effort. We roll out a training program that the employees and managers go through the training, and then it doesn't stick. So that is something that we want to continue to solve for. The other thing I'll talk about is performance ratings. I feel like they lack meaning. This is something that goes back to like, is performance management just a check off the box exercise where we're rating employees? I think where the future holds and what's really important is giving employees meaning to what happens in those performance reviews. And again, you'll hear this a theme throughout today, feedback. We want feedback. Employees want feedback. They need it in real time, on the fly. Like, I would love it if we had a poll question here, Marcus, but like, who seriously can remember what they did last week? Feel free to chime in the chat, but the real-time feedback is certainly where the magic happens.
Yeah, we just had a couple comments come through. So Valentine said, "Why? Too many at the helm, but too few at the oars." Malin also added that bad managers are one of them, and I got my performance review last week. How'd it go, Malin? Let us know.
I love it. You just triggered something. I think at one point I attended some conference on like employee engagement. This was a few years ago, and they were handing out bumper stickers that said "Bad managers ruin lives." So that's just a little bit of humor for that comment. But
Oh, Malin is a new manager, and not good, she said. Does not know what he's doing. So, a little
oh,
feedback. Hope.
oh,
Mark
that's
also
fine.
added in it's backwards looking instead of forward helping. So, good
Right.
comments. Love it. Coming in hot. So,
Yeah.
keep them coming.
Awesome. Love the engagement. That's what we need. Okay. So here's where we're heading. We're going to talk about the concept of growth-driven learning that comes down to three things: performance, capability, and continuous conversations. So there's a lot to all of this. I'm going to keep it high level, and we'll certainly dive in a little bit further as we go throughout the presentation, or people have comments or things they want to share, please dive in. But I think when I think about these three pillars, what comes to mind for me, particularly around performance, is thinking about performance through principles or values. So what I love about Allego is we really do anchor performance in our operating principles. We don't have performance ratings here. We do have, on that note, I've never really heard of anybody that's super excited about their, on a scale of 1 to 4, how are you performing rating? But anyway, what we do have is we have part of our performance process is really just looking at how are people aligned with our operating principles. So that's part of our performance management process is, are you consistently behaving and following our operating principles? It's an important one, and I'll talk a bit more about that as we go on. Um, we also think that, evaluating performance based on behaviors as well as outcomes. I'm sure most of you on the call, maybe you've worked at a company in the past or worked with colleagues where they may have hit the number or they're meeting all their goals, but they're plowing through everybody around them to do that. So I think what's important, if it's important in your culture, how are we measuring performance based on the behaviors as well as the outcomes? And I think another theme that we'll talk about today is seeking truth. So, we want to measure what is actually driving the results and dig deeper into how we're getting those results. Um, Now, building capability, this was hard for me to understand earlier in my career. I was very eager to get promoted and all that fun stuff. But it did take me quite a few years to realize that the magic happens in the day to day, right? So we're building capacity through real work. So focus on developing skills in action, not just training, right? Like an individual isn't going to get promoted because they attended 3 different training sessions throughout the year. They're going to get promoted because they apply maybe some of those skills that they learned in training in their day-to-day job. And maybe they took a stretch assignment and that helped them build their capability. So I'll give you a quick example. So one thing I've seen throughout my career is, manager training. So here you are, new manager. It sounds like we've got some new ones in the audience. Um, we don't want to just give them training. We want to help set them up for success so they're able and capable to do things like giving feedback, delegate, prioritize work, and be continuous coaches to their teams. So really the goal is to upskill and continue to reskill as the work evolves. So I think that any training or skill development, it definitely at the end of the day needs to be directly tied with the business outcomes. Um, Growth through continuous conversations. Again, you'll hear me talk about conversations a lot today in the short amount of time I have, but I think that for to drive performance forward, it really starts with having open, honest conversations. So, doing exercises to get a truth-seeking feedback. Quarterly or a couple times a year certainly isn't moving the needle. I think our poll survey proved that in the beginning. This really needs to happen in the day-to-day. That's where the magic happens. So what can we do as learning and HR professionals? We can help enable managers by giving them some tools so they can coach in the day-to-day flow of work. We'll reinforce skill applications. Again, those regular conversations have to happen. And build accountability through consistent management engagement. Excuse me. If managers aren't having one-on-ones or coaching their teams, I'll be honest, they're not in the right job. So it's a little wild to say, but it's true.
We had a couple questions come in here. I'll just
Sure. We'll pause.
yeah. So Susan said, "Do you believe performance reviews should have level ratings or goals attained?"
I think I would defer. It goes back to the company and culture and what you're trying to achieve. My opinion, I think performance reviews, it needs to be a little bit of reflection, a little bit of forward facing, and a little bit of, let's talk about, what's your development goals outside of your day-to-day goals. So I do believe it's a conversation that includes all of that.
We had a couple chime in on the chat. Malin said, goals attained for me, not rating. Valentine said 70, 20, 10. Trainings are the 10. Um, yep. Susan came back and said depends on the company culture. What are development goals conversations should all include? What should they I think we're going to get into that actually, Susan. So hang tight. Well,
Great.
Lena, I'll let you kind of build that out a little bit. So go ahead and take it away.
Sure, absolutely. And just to go back, I mean, I've seen both the ratings and like the quick metric, oh, you met 100% of your goal. But what I want to reinforce and what I think is important is the how you got to those goals, right? So it's the building in either values or operating principles into how you're managing performance. I think that helps drive culture. So. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, executive teams go to HR, they go to learning and development professionals. They're like, hey, change everybody's behavior, train them. I want everybody upskilled on this tomorrow. That doesn't happen overnight, as I mentioned, but it does happen through building out the right systems, building habits, and enabling our managers to be able to do that. So we've got 5 steps listed here. So build your system, enable managers, practice continuous learning, safe practice, really excited to dive in there, and then 5, track behavior. So step 1, this is a busy slide. I like this slide though, because there's some cool things that I get to talk about on it. So the first thing, how to build performance into the system. So it all starts, in my opinion, during the interview process. We want to hire the right talent. A little story, I personally joined Allego because the operating principles were so closely aligned with my personal values. I knew it after the first meeting I had with Yu Chun Lee, who's our CEO and co-founder. I was like, oh, wow, these principles and the way this guy operates his business, this is a place I want to be. So I want to reinforce, I think that's so important from the very beginning, that you should identify and evaluate talent that is aligned with your operating principles or your values. It's important. We're so quick to look at a resume and say, oh, they check off all the box, and then they come in, and if they don't align with those values or operating principles, it's not just uncomfortable, it actually makes it harder for people to feel good about the work they're doing and to be successful. So step 2 is setting clear expectations from day one. I know this sounds so simple, but it's missed so often. So I think the piece here, you have a new hire, you're setting clear expectations from day one, you're sharing what the company goals are, what are the top initiatives, what are departmental goals, and tying that to how their role fits in that bigger picture. That's so important. People want to feel that self-fulfillment and know how their job and their day-to-day work is making impact in the company. So part of this is giving managers the tools and space to help plan for employees, whether it's their first 30, 60, 90 days. And let's be real, sometimes it can take 6 months for somebody to get fully assimilated, depending on the role in the company. So one of the cool things I'm really proud of, at Allego, we joke we joke around a lot. We drink our own Kool-Aid, we drink our own champagne. And we have these cool things called digital sales rooms. We call them DSRs internally. And a digital sales room, I describe it this might not be the marketing term, so Marcus, please correct me. I say they're like mini customizable websites that you can put content into this DSR room. And what's really cool is on the back end, you can see how people are engaging with the content and so forth. So I took a practical, I see Marcus.
You got it right. You got a little
right,
micro
okay.
website. That's all it is. That's all it is.
I love it. I love it.
Personalized.
Great. It's great. So as you can tell probably from me, I'm so proud that I was able to take something that our sales team is selling to help make like sellers' lives easier and the buying experience better. But I took that tool and I developed it into something that we can use to onboard our new hires. So if you look, I think it's on the right-hand side of the slide here. I've got a beautiful picture of the DSR. A little AI helped me with the dream team photo, but you can see that from that photo at the basics, it's a welcome message and it shows our team. You can see I've got Forrest there. He's our talent scout. You might see him on LinkedIn occasionally if you follow me or Allego. But if you were to scroll down in that DSR, what there is there's links and resources that are applicable to the person's role. It goes to like our people and culture share drive. It's got an overview of our company's top initiatives. It's got their list and their calendar of all their meet and greets. I'm sure I'm missing a couple things here, but I think everybody gets the idea. They've got this cool DSR that is customized to them and their unique onboarding needs. So I take that as a big win over here. And then, as I alluded to, performance evaluations that are tied to principles and incorporating those in the performance review process is important. And that's really, I think, been a great win for Allego and our culture. Again, it goes back to hiring the people that are aligned with those values and reinforcing those values or operating principles through performance evaluations. So again, as I mentioned, people might meet their goals, but how they're going about it, we want to make sure it's in a way that aligns with the company's values. So I'll tell you a quick story quickly, and it'll actually connect to how we drive performance around our operating principles. So at Allego, we use those principles as a lever to actually drive performance because every year we have our annual operating principles award ceremony, and this is a big deal. So every year we have our kickoff meeting, and in the evening there's an award ceremony. And there are winners for each principle, and you can see them on the slide here. These are just Allego's operating principles. So what happens? People get a big celebration at the award ceremony at the kickoff meeting. They get a beautiful award, as you can see on the screen. And then what's really cool is our CEO, who's very generous. He actually brings all of the award winners to his home for a very beautiful dinner. I'll be honest, I went last year. It was probably one of the best meals I had in my life, but that just brings people together and it reinforces that these operating principles, they are part of our day to day and how the work gets done. So it's really special. People thrive to win this award every year. And I'm going to give Marcus a huge shout out because my partner in crime today, he actually won the award for execution excellence this past year. So congratulations, Marcus. You're a prime example of
Thank
how
you. Thank you.
building this in. And then my last point on this is to reinforce our CEO brings people to his home. Again, you don't need to bring them to your home, but it shows leadership plays a key role here too. So it's our executive team believes in our operating principles, acknowledges these, and awards people for them. I'll pause there. Marcus, anything you would add on that note?
No, I think you've went over how do we hire the right people. So what's next?
What's
What
next?
do we do next after we hire the right folks?
So I think the next thing is enabling managers to lead performance, right? So I know we've got some new managers in the room, and I think this is a common theme that happens, right? So we have high achieving, over performing individual contributors. All of a sudden, they are tapped on the shoulder or promoted into management. Welcome to management. So I'm going to ask the audience if you can monitor chat, Marcus. What are some of the challenges that come with this when we take our high potential, high achieving individual contributors and throw them into management positions? And please note, I said throw them in.
All right. Let's see. Go ahead and get those into the chat. Let's see. Cindy says they are not equipped to do the job. Susie says don't know how to lead, inspire, and motivate others. Elizabeth, manage with the law. These are coming in so fast I can't even read them all.
There's lots of issues, clearly.
Not enough support for leadership. Doesn't come with leadership management training. They know how to work alone, but not as a team. Similar theme here. So
Yeah, yeah.
managing is tough. Managing is
All
tough.
It's all of the above. So I think, it wasn't too long ago I actually read an article and it really it hit me and it stood out to me. It was about how a lot of high achieving individual contributors, they move into management. They're actually really excited about it, but then when they're in the seat, it's actually a really difficult transition from them because they go from killing it, overachieving, being an SME in their job to having to now lead, delegate, sometimes coach people that were, their peers, a week ago. Now all of a sudden they report to you. So it's a bit of a mindset shift from actually being, somebody that's executing on the work to leading and making sure that gets done. So and on that note, you gonna say something,
Well,
Marcus?
I'm just going to say, we kind of talked about this for selling organizations. This happens a lot for sellers that absolutely just crush it, and then they go into a manager position, and it's like a completely different experience, right? So I think that this is hits home for a lot of folks that have sales teams, large sales teams. So
Yes.
go ahead. I won't cut you.
No, you can cut me off anytime. But it's a culture shift. So, but it's important for us to make sure that we are helping new managers. So one of the things I've seen for new managers, it's not effort. It's usually just they're missing conversations with their team members. So again, going back to they once were my peer, now they report to me. It can be difficult kind of uh, moving forward, setting clear expectations, giving them feedback, whether it's good or bad, and having those development discussions. So all of those things at the end of the day, they impact, performance. So again, clear expectations, giving feedback, and having discussions with their teams. So what would they like to do? What would they like to accomplish? So move on here. All right. So step 3. Instead of rolling out like broad training, which trust me, I've done this in past lives, where it focuses on, here's a list of things you should do. This is how you interview. This is how you evaluate performance. I feel like those days are over. What we want to do is shift the focus to giving managers practical tools that they can use immediately. So this starts with giving them simple coaching frameworks. Don't have to, what's the word, over construct or over engineer coaching frameworks. I think it's basics, like give them some tools so they know how to structure these conversations. Then it also comes with feedback tools. So at Allego, we do have workshops where, we're helping managers understand, what that flow of a conversation should look like so they can deliver clear, again, timely feedback with their staff. So again, I think the other thing, it's not a one size fits all. So at Allego, we've sort of taken the approach, we don't force like one particular tool. We share a few of examples of how these one-on-ones can be run, and then it's up to the manager and the employee to figure out, how they want to roll those one-on-ones. So what we do make sure happens is that managers have the time to have those structured one-on-ones because again, I use the word magic. It's those one-on-ones in those day-to-day conversations where the magic happens, where you're talking about roadblocks, wins, all of that fun stuff. It all starts with those conversations. So once managers, get their rhythm, it just happens. It becomes a repeatable habit, and that drives performance. So on this slide, my favorite thing to talk about lately is delegation. So delegation, again, as a new manager, they're so used to doing the work and owning the work, it can be hard to sometimes let go, myself included in that, okay? But delegation, it is a wonderful way to develop people. It's not just delegating tasks, you are developing people by giving them stuff that will stretch them and they're going to develop and learn. So get your people out of comfort zones, let them make mistakes, let them learn. And I think, it's important. So that's my 2 cents on delegation. All right. So this is really important slide. So step 4, this is a magical slide. So creating a safe place to practice these conversations is so important. So at Allego, we've been using tools like AI role play And let me just say, I've been waiting my entire career for this. So, what happened in the past is like, okay, let's have manager training. Okay, managers break off in pairs, practice your difficult conversation. Okay, give each other feedback. And we had to take people out of their day to day for 5 hours to host a workshop to make this happen. Okay, making this up here on the fly, but that is really the reality of what happened. But now AI is such a hot topic, and we're certainly experimenting with it at Allego. AI gives employees the opportunity and managers to practice these conversations. It gives them the opportunity to refine their messaging. It gives them the opportunity to maybe they say something and it comes off really harsh, or the constructive feedback just turned into something that actually like diminishes somebody's vibes, and they're like, oh my God, I'm scared to come to work now. So we want to prevent that. And AI role play allows not just managers but employees to practice having conversations and build confidence before they actually go out and do this. And this is inclusive too. This isn't, I obviously in people and culture, I'm always thinking about employees and managers, but this is true for speaking with a customer or a prospect too. That's so important. You've got to have one of the things we're rolling out is an AI role play around executive presence, right? So how do you get into a meeting room or a Zoom with an executive sponsor and really drive that conversation and nail that conversation? AI is helping us with that. So I'll say employees don't just improve from the training, they improve from putting it into practice and having a safe place to try this out.
And I'll just chime in from the chat here for a second. Mark called out learning moments. I like to call them micro moments, but he said we don't need more training hours. We just need more learning moments. And I think that ties back to your conversation piece that you've kind of weaved in here throughout this entire presentation. Um, Also, Lena, Susan said you're killing it, by the way.
Thank you,
So.
Susan. Thank you. That's so nice. The positive reinforcement goes a long way too, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous for this, but no, if you can't tell, I truly love talking about this type of thing. I think it's so important to any organization, any industry. It's good. All right. So just going on the how, so tracking behaviors. So again, we want to be able to go back to, I'm thinking back to that first slide where, what do the executives want to see? They want the ROI, they want to see the results right away. So AI role play, it actually helps that. So when you when you have this type of tool, you can track success. You can actually see the results improve. So we use it with our SDRs, our sales development reps. Like for example, how they're practicing how to navigate objective handling, right? Like how many of us get calls and we just want to hang up. This helps give people the skills to deal with that. As well as managers building confidence to deliver real-time feedback. Again, going back to the learning moment, it happens in moments. So, you hear about something that day, you should be giving feedback to the employee that day in a perfect world. We're also using it to enhance presentation skills. So, I think one of the things, we've got a couple cool things here at Allego, where one of our co-founders, Mark Magnac, he wrote a book called So What Training, and it's all about enhancing your presentation skills. So what we would do to measure the behaviors and the activity here, we would have people do a recorded video before their training. They'd go through the training, and then they would do another video after the training where they've got feedback both from AI as well as the training facilitator. So that's a really successful program. Our employees have thought or submitted really positive feedback on that. And then the other thing, again, I've got that HR hat on, is really driving the feedback conversation. So there are different types of conversations. A confrontation conversation is different than giving somebody, some quick feedback. So we're using AI role play to help managers practice these different types of scenarios and so forth. So it's really cool. I feel like we are in the future. I grew up watching the Jetsons, and I feel like we're now all of a sudden there. It's wild. All right. So I know everybody's like, well, what do I do? What can I do? So here are a bunch of things that you can either start right away or you can think about, as well as some quick wins. So First and foremost, for all L&D professionals, are you measuring activity or are you measuring impact? Because you can show, oh yeah, we had 100% participation in this training, but did anybody apply what they learned? That's the big question mark. So being able to actually measure the impact and see those results, that's the game changer. And then are your managers set up for success to coach? Have you given them some toolkits? Have you had, some, I feel like sometimes they just need somebody to help them through these difficult conversations, whether it's myself or helping them by practicing on an AI tool. I think again, the managers are so important to the culture of the organization and driving results and performance. So making sure your managers are set up for success by having the tools and the confidence to be able to effectively manage their teams. Again, our expectations clear. It sounds simple. It gets missed a lot, especially in high growth, ever changing companies. Those expectations can change on a daily basis, weekly basis. So just going back to the point, having those structured one-on-ones in place, it helps you reinforce what is the most important thing today. Um, so prioritizing, we've got different skills. So I ask everybody in this room to think about, is the old school method of performance rating, is that working? I don't know. I don't think so. I think if we could turn those performance ratings or reviews into truth-seeking conversations where you're really digging into what they have accomplished and digging into what they need to do in the future and setting some development goals, there's some magic there. Training, again, shifting from here's a training, watch the video or attend this course to how do we embed this in their day to day so they are practicing in real life. And again, you need to foster an environment where sometimes people will make mistakes and that's okay. We learn from that. And then shifting from, again, just check off the box, we completed training to performance metrics that show how behaviors are actually being changed. And then finally, some quick wins. So again, one-on-one frameworks. This is a little trick I have for the new managers. I start most of my meetings with what is the most important thing we should talk about today, and that gives your employee the airtime to tell you what's most important to them that day. It's good, and then you can dig deeper by asking them questions like, well, what else, and things like that. Of course, I'm going to say add practice those AI role plays into learning programs. I think AI is here to stay. We might as well embrace it and use it to our advantage. Align onboarding. I'm going to go back. Align onboarding, hiring onboarding into performance expectations. And then, of course, we're always identifying critical skills that drive success and morphing our programs to meet those needs. Marcus.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that you know this, but we usually phrase it as everboarding on a lot of the webinars that we do. Our director of sales development calls it everboarding as he
Yeah.
progresses his reps through their 1 year, their 2 year, and ongoing training. So I need to make that tweak next time we give this presentation.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I'm a Dash fan. So David Ash is who Marcus is referring to. We call him Dash internally, but yeah, he's great. And I agree, everboarding. I mean, it goes on throughout people's career. I mean,
Oh, he's a regular. If any of the folks in the audience show up to training industry leader talks, he's your main guy. I'm sure that they might want a signature or something afterwards
yeah. I
if they
mean,
met him in person.
he gives
Uh,
off those famous vibes. So
so I did have a couple of comments. Patty just chimed in. Does anyone have a great set of questions that all managers should use during one-on-one conversations? So add those into the chat as we're kind of going through these, so that we can kind of, share our thoughts as subject matter experts here. Um, and then, well, actually, do you have any that you think that you can think of the top of your head there, Lena?
yeah, I mean, I think just the very open-ended starting the starter, what is the most important thing we need to talk about? And again, you're putting it on your whether it's your peer, your cross-functional partner, or your direct report. they're going to open the conversation what they think is most important. And I think, um, the other thing I would say anytime you're giving feedback, I think it's important to always get their perspective on their reality. Everybody has a different lens. So just being, it's okay to probe and ask questions, or if it's a difficult uh, feedback that you're trying to deliver, people often try to like deflect it, or they're oh, I didn't know it was me. Like you just got to bring them back to the point and reinforce. You gotta control the narrative there a bit.
So
What's
we've
the
talked
audience saying?
about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's the audience saying? I can't.
Oh, they said, what's keeping you up at night is what Beth said. Mark said, what are we doing out of habit that no longer adds value? LaDon said, we're transitioning to everboarding. So shout out there. Brooke said, what obstacle or roadblock do you to help, uh, need my help removing? Oh,
Yes,
that's a good one actually
that is a good
for a
one.
manager.
Yeah.
So I know we've covered a lot here. I asked Lena to if there was one domino that she had to push, what would it be? So our next slide, I think, is we
Yeah.
got you all these things, but what's the one thing here, Lena?
The one thing. All right, so let's take it home.
Oh, if you can move it.
I can move it. All right. So the one thing that matters the most, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it's those truth-seeking conversations that move the work forward, right? So I'll go back to one of the biggest missed opportunities is the lack of having conversations. You need to give teams the toolkit. Again, this is on all sides to have honest, real-time conversations. That's how we solve problems and that's how we drive results, right? I think oftentimes, or what I've seen in the past, there's organizations where they're like, they're scared to have difficult conversations or just put it all out there in terms of like what's wrong. The only way things get better and you drive results and performance is by putting those problems and those roadblocks and barriers out on the table and collaboratively having a discussion about, why is this happening? What is the impact? And again, every single individual at the table on these conversations, they all have a different perspective, a valuable perspective. So I think, again, the honesty, real-time conversations, that's what's going to help you, again, not just drive performance, you're going to solve problems and you're going to grow and drive results. So, um, and part of this, so the truth-seeking conversations, keep managers accountable. So this is on our leadership team. It's also on employees too. They can say, hey, I need to talk about XYZ today. These are going back to the question, what are some of the good questions to help in these one-on-ones? It's okay, what are your big rocks? What are your little rocks? So what are your big issues? What are some of the smaller things that you're dealing with? Um, but build that into the system, the manager accountability. That's how it keeps them going. Ask our managers what they need, ask our employees. I'll say the one thing, well, I love lots of things about Allego, let me be honest, but what I love is everything we do is a test. I mean, everything I'm talking about, we're testing it, we're iterating it, we're making it better. So we want to help equip our managers to be able to coach through real work. Again, the quarterly conversations or annual performance reviews, fine, you can have those, but you also need to remember the magic happens through the day to day. It's not just through those review processes. I also think there's a lot to say, when you can get leaders into a room, talk through these strategies, those different perspectives, those different challenges. It comes back to having a safe place for people to talk about. And I think, I love how we're sharing some of our questions in the chat. I always say sharing is caring when I have managers in a room together. Okay, what are your challenges? Okay, how do you approach that? What's working? What's not working? Those are all important questions to ask. And this is my big ending, okay? Get ready. So, at the end of the day, one of my favorite quotes comes from Susan Scott, and it is, the conversation is the relationship. So, Susan Scott wrote a book called Fierce Conversations, and that has sat with me through my entire career. So, if you don't have conversations, there is no relationship. And I always like to remind, I remember when my very first meetings at Allego, I introduced the concept of the emotional bank account. And it's important for everybody to remember that every conversation is either a deposit or a withdrawal in somebody's emotional bank account. So handle your teams with care. Uh, most of us want to achieve and be successful. We just have to help them get there. Thank you.
Lena, can you call out that book and author one more time?
Yeah, so it's called Fierce Conversations and it's by Susan Scott. And I read this book, I don't want to age myself too much here, but probably 16 years ago, and it stuck with me.
All right. Well, we've come up to, if you want to move to the next slide, we've come up to the all our time allotted for, but I did add the digital room. We've got the slides in there for you and a bunch of free resources and all the other webinars we've done, leader talks. So check those out. Connect with Lena on LinkedIn. All of that is within the digital room. And sorry we couldn't get to your conversations, but thanks, Liz. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And if you did not scan this QR code by the time that I steal the screen, no fret. We will be sending out the copy of the PDFs in that follow-up email that I mentioned. So you will definitely get those QR codes. But thank you guys so much. I was having so much fun through the chat and the conversations. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Connect with Lena on LinkedIn. Bye, folks.
So with that, we will be taking about a 14-minute break. Up next, we do have What Fix for their session, Designing a Continuous Performance Model for Customer-Facing Teams. So again, in a moment, I'm going to end this session. You can join our next session by returning to the event lobby and going to the session tab. And I hope you all stick around for us for the next session, which will begin at the top of the hour. We'll see you all there. Bye, everybody.